I don't think I'll ever forget the first time that I discovered Bleach through its anime way back in October of 2006. This was when the series had just started to be dubbed in English, and at the time this is the way that I was experiencing it, with only 2 episodes released thus far. So every week I watched the latest episode of Bleach as it was airing on Adult Swim in the US. Back then I had no idea about the manga or what filler was. I was happily enjoying the anime. However, after the Soul Society arc had wrapped up, it was difficult to ignore the drop in quality of the episodes that I was watching. I had just gotten through the Bount arc not even knowing that it was a filler arc. I was wondering why the series had fell so hard, because it had felt like the episodes were just dragging on, and the newly introduced characters of the arc felt very generic, and I had spotted all of this even at the age of 12, and I couldn't wait to just start the next story arc, because I was wondering where on earth Aizen had gone to after he had betrayed the Soul Society. Eventually, I would go on to watch Bleach in Japanese with English subtitles, and I had decided to stop watching the series whenever a new filler arc would start. I kind of treated it like a temporary hiatus, as I was just waiting for the anime to return to cover canon material again. I think this is one of the main reasons why I have such fond memories of Bleach, and my early experience of the series was mostly canon only material. Now the reason why I've shared my early experience with Bleach via the anime is because I've always theorized that most people actually disliked Bleach because of the flaws of the anime. I've read countless comments talking about how Bleach had fallen off after the Soul Society arc, and these same people appear to not know that the Bount arc was a filler story arc. I mean, if I thought that the entirety of the Bleach anime was canon, I too would be agreeing that Bleach had peaked during the Soul Society arc and took a nosedive following the Bount arc and the rest of the story. Now in this video, I want to talk about the differences between the original Bleach anime versus its source material, the manga. I will talk about how the anime portrays the characterization of key characters differently, discussing the impact of filler story arcs on the flow of the story, as well as Kubo's thoughts about the original 2004 anime that was directed by Noriyuki Abe, which may actually surprise some of you. So you will definitely want to stick around until the end of this video to find out all of this information and more. Before the video begins, only 12% of the people who watch my content are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy these videos, then subscribe and stick around for more content just like this. Now let's get back to the topic of the video. On the 4th of November 2017, a year after the Bleach manga had ended, Kubo had made a guest appearance on TBS radio for an interview where he had revealed his thoughts about the 2004 Bleach anime. Back when it was announced that Bleach would be adapted into an anime, Kubo was surprised that it had taken this long for it to happen, since the series was already really popular in manga form and it had been 3 years since it had started to be serialized. Most of the manga series end within 3 years, but Kubo was glad that his story was popular and that it was now getting an anime. Now Kubo did have some involvement with the 2004 Bleach anime, but not so much at the start. This had most likely changed because he had noticed that the anime would change a lot of things from the manga, and this is from Kubo himself. The anime for the most part was far from an accurate vision of Kubo's work. When he had seen how different the anime was compared to the manga, it would make his stomach hurt. He goes on to speak about how he would get irritated by some of the decisions made by the anime staff, and he would literally exclaim "that's wrong" while watching the anime. Now recently I've been rewatching the Substitute Shinigami arc, and this is a story arc where they had condensed down 70 chapters into 20 episodes of the anime. And during this arc there's a lot of changes made, in particular to how they had emphasized the relationship between Ichigo and Rukia, with Ichigo's friends hinting at them two being in a relationship. Even during the battle between Ichigo and the Grand Fisher, the anime had included a filler Shinigami from the Soul Society, and his entire gimmick is that he believes that Rukia has run away from the Soul Society and has started a romance with a human from the world of the living, and this human is of course Ichigo. This is just some of the examples that I had personally noticed of changes made from the anime and the manga, and this of course isn't even including the censorship within the anime, which removes a lot of blood, severed arms, and really tones down the violence. One of the main reasons for this is because Bleach was airing during a primetime slot, and the new 1000 Year Blood War arc Bleach anime is airing at 12 AM, and it's for this reason that it's heavily uncensored and a lot of the violence within the manga is included and it's even added upon, but unfortunately this wasn't the case for the 2004 anime. Now eventually, after Kubo had had enough, he had started to check the dialogue of every episode script. Each week he was sent the scripts for the anime because he was very particular about what the characters would say and how they would say it. Now, because the anime had the constant pressure of catching up to the manga, the anime staff would add additional dialogue to pad out some of the scenes. Now, in some instances, Kubo had noticed that the dialogue did not match the characterization that he had established within the manga. Now, it was different to how the characters actually are, and he was worried that the manga readers who were watching the anime would easily be able to notice the differences. And it's for this reason that Kubo had tried his very best to correct any issues with the anime as best as he could, while at the same time maintaining a tight weekly manga schedule. He went to such lengths to fix the anime because he felt responsibility for a work that had his name attached to it. Additionally, he was aware that a lot of people would have their first exposure to Bleach via the anime, and it's for this reason that he had wanted it to be accurate to the manga, while at the same time not letting down existing readers who were around from before the start of the anime. Despite Kubo's best efforts, the anime had still ended up being very different to the manga, and in all honesty, when you re-experience Bleach via the manga, it is like you're reading a totally different series. The characters you end up finding annoying within the anime suddenly have more depth, and you find them to be way more likable than before. One notable example is the character of Orihime, who within the anime was portrayed as an annoying damsel in distress. Some vital Orihime moments within the manga were not even given importance within the anime. Instead, we got several filler moments between Ichigo and Rukia that led to a division amongst the fandom, who had started to hate on Orihime's character and despised her because of her role within the story, and how it had ruined their supposed Ichigo-Rukia ship, which in all honesty the anime helped in a large part to perpetuate. Orihime constantly shouting out Kurosaki-kun was one of my pet peeves within the anime, and consequently I found a character to be obnoxious and unlikable. I didn't understand why she was doubting Ichigo during his battle against Grimmjow, and I found her to be fickle when she had decided to suddenly support Ichigo after Nell had encouraged her. Now, the manga does a much better job of conveying to us Orihime's desires, feelings, and why she behaves and says the things that she does. I feel like she is a totally different character within the manga, and is far from the crybaby that she was portrayed to be within the anime. In the manga, you really get to appreciate Orihime's emotions, to the point that it is established that she is going through depression and is experiencing these feelings because of a traumatic past. Within the manga, Orihime is a shining ray of hope who puts others before herself, and she is characterized to perfectly complement Ichigo, as she is in a way the shield to his sword. Her uselessness that is depicted within the anime is soon forgotten when you properly see her desire and motivation to help others depicted via the manga. Now, adding to this, let's talk about the instances where the anime had purposefully removed or changed scenes from the manga between Ichigo and Orihime. Now, what better place to start than by discussing Orihime's first appearance in both versions. In the anime, Ichigo bumps into Orihime and knocks her to the ground. He offers his hand to help her up, but Orihime ends up being afraid of the mean look on Ichigo's face as she just strangely runs away. Ichigo doesn't even apologize to Orihime until he has to be prompted to by Tatsuki. Now, the manga on the other hand depicts her first appearance very differently. Firstly, she doesn't bump into Ichigo, nor is she afraid of his face. Kubo depicts Orihime as someone who finds Ichigo funny, and that she loves the expressions on his face, speaking about the signature frown that he carries around with him. Most notably, Orihime did not run away from Ichigo, and this is important because the anime just made it out as though she is afraid of him and is melodramatic, when in actual fact the manga portrays her to be very quirky and likable. Let's now talk about the scene where Ichigo and Rukia learn that Orihime was run over by a car. In the anime, Ichigo is walking while Rukia chases after him and argues with him, until they are interrupted by the sound of Orihime being run over. The manga differs as Ichigo and Rukia were in fact training at the park until Orihime turns up happily greeting Ichigo, who learns that she was hit by a car after seeing the wound on her arm. The manga depicts Ichigo to be very attentive to Orihime, and he is portrayed to be more caring towards her, while in the anime he is nowhere near as concerned about her well-being. The manga convincingly shows us a concerned Ichigo who scolds Orihime for laughing off being hit by a car, as he describes it to be a serious accident. Orihime jokingly speaks about how she zones off a lot, and Ichigo genuinely seems worried for her well-being, especially when he sees the bandages on her arm. He asks if she is feeling numb because of the pain and demands that she goes to see a doctor. When Ichigo offers to walk her home, she quickly refuses in a panic, and we see her later feeling upset that she had missed out on an opportunity to walk home with Ichigo. But at the same time, she also wishes that Ichigo didn't give up so easily after her refusal, as she deep down wanted him to insist on walking her home. Now, the manga does a fantastic job of making the characters feel realistic, and Kubo makes it quite obvious that Orihime has a crush on Ichigo, through how anything that he does for her sake makes her blush, as noted by Rukia. I love the manga for how it depicts the nuanced relationship between the characters, and how Kubo meticulously conveys how they act and feel so that that you can relate with them more and feel like you genuinely care for the characters that you are reading about. Through these two examples alone, you can see the differences between the anime and the manga, especially how the anime rushes through moments in the manga that Kubo takes his time to draw and write in order for us to better understand his characters that exist within his world. Now, the last scene that I want to speak about during this brief comparison is a moment that is omitted from the anime, and it's a scene where Tatsuki reveals her support for Orihime's crush on Ichigo. She calls Orihime stupid for not being more forceful with him by demanding that he walks her home. You can see through this interaction how close Tatsuki and Orihime are, and at some point she would have told her that she has feelings for him. Scenes like this that reveal the emotion of characters and make them feel more relatable are often removed from the anime, and this is a shame because one of Kubo's strengths within the manga is how excellently he can portray his characters, making them feel like living people who realistically feel and react to things that are going on around them. Orihime is one example of several characters who just got sidelined when it comes to the anime, and they were not properly given time to explore the deeper nuances of their psyche, which Kubo had painstakingly included within the manga. Hopefully you can appreciate just how different the anime is to the manga now, and why you should be reading the source material so that you know just how much was omitted from the anime, and how different some of the characters really are in the manga. The last point about the anime that I want to speak about is the amount of filler material within it, which ruins the pacing of the story and puts people off of the anime because they think that it has a really high episode count. In actuality, 45% of the 366 episodes of Bleach are completely filler stories that don't hold up to the episodes that adapt canon material. Not only does the anime not properly adapt the manga, but it also slows down the pacing by interrupting canon material to shoehorn a filler arc while in the middle of a canon fight. Now, I'll never forget how during the anime we had started a filler arc just before the highly anticipated final battle between Ichigo and Ukiura. I remember so many people being annoyed by this decision at the time, but this was the way that things were back then. Filler exists so that the anime does not catch up to the manga, but now that the anime is over and people can watch all 366 episodes in one chunk, it just puts them off when they see such a large episode count. It also makes it harder for them to distinguish between canon and filler material, especially when filler characters make reappearances during canon segments, like those annoying Bount stuffed animals that appeared during the Arrancar arc. Additionally, a lot of people didn't know that the Bount arc was filler because of how well it had fit into the story after the Soul Society arc. The anime staff had really tried their best to fit filler material into the continuity, which just serves to further confuse people who are not familiar with the manga. Now, I'm really glad that Kubo has a supervisor role for the new 1000 Year Blood War arc Bleach anime, and with him personally overseeing the decisions made by the anime staff. It reassures me that a lot of the things that went wrong with the 2004 anime will hopefully not be repeated in the new Bleach anime. Kubo clearly cares enough for his story, and he has proven that he will try his best for it to be accurately adapted into other works. This is why he was frustrated by the original anime when it had started airing. Now, he has enough pride to ensure that any work linked to his name would hold up to the high standards that he expects of himself and the fans of his work. What was your first experience with Bleach? Were you introduced to the series via the anime like I was, or did you go back and re-experience the series via the manga? I would love to read about your thoughts when it comes to the differences between the manga and the anime, and if you agree with me that the anime had failed at adapting Kubo's manga. Personally, I think that the anime was responsible for some of the hate that Bleach would receive from anime-only viewers who had never read the manga. After reading countless complaints from people who had expressed their dislike for certain characters and specific story elements, and usually you can deduce that they are talking about things that were not properly adapted from the manga. I believe that most people who dislike the Bleach anime will have a better time with the manga, but that's just my opinion. I want to now hand over the discussion to all of you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next Bleach video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.